Alan Wake 2 is set to come out by the end of this month, and it is Remedy Entertainment's one of the most ambitious sequels ever. It's been over a decade since the original Alan Wake title was released, and the studio is going all out for the sequel as it will feature two playable characters, two realities to explore, and much more. Alan Wake 2 is going to be one of the biggest horror games of 2023, as Remedy confirmed that it will feature the spooky survival horror experience. And in this video, we will go through everything we know about Alan Wake 2.
This story will eat you alive.
Alan Wake 2 is scheduled to be released on October 27th. Although the studio announced the release date back in May 2023 at Sony's Summer State of Play, the original release date for the game was the 17th of October. But just recently, with a tweet, Remedy confirmed that they have delayed the game by 10 days, and it is because the crowded release schedule of October. Alan Wake 2 is next-gen only, meaning that the game will only release for PS5, Xbox Series X, S and PC. Remedy confirmed that the long-awaited sequel won't be released for PS4 and Xbox One. Alan Wake 2 is also going to be a digital-only release, and according to the developers, it is to keep the price at $60. In terms of game edition, Alan Wake 2 kept it simple, as there is only two editions available for the game. The standard edition of the game is just the base game, but if you pre-order the standard edition, you will get few bonuses. The pre-order bonuses that you will get are the ornate revolver skin for Alan and survival resources pack for Saga. You will also get a Oh Dear Diner alternate costume for Saga. The standard edition of the game will cost you around $60 for PS5 and Xbox, while for PC it will cost you around $46 via Epic Games Store. The deluxe edition of the game includes everything from the standard edition with a few more cosmetic items. The deluxe edition will come with alternate costumes for both Alan and Saga, shotgun skin for both Alan and Saga, as well as lantern charm for Saga. The deluxe edition will also guarantees access to the Night Springs and Lake House content that is planned to be released after the game launch. If you pre-order the deluxe edition, you will get ornate revolver skin for Alan and survival resources pack and Oh Dear Diner alternate costume for Saga. The deluxe edition will cost you around $80 for PS5 and Xbox versions, while for PC it will cost you around $65 via Epic Games Store. The plot or the story of Alan Wake 2 picks up 13 years after the original game. At the end of the first game, Alan vanished from the base world, found himself trapped in the dark place and nightmarish otherworld where reality can literally be rewritten. Since getting trapped there for over a decade, Alan has been trying to write himself an exit out of the dark place, but he has been unsuccessful. Our second playable character, Saga Anderson, is an accomplished FBI agent. While Alan tries to set himself free from the dark place, Saga on the base world comes to Bright Falls, where the first Alan Wake game was set in. Saga came to Bright Falls to investigate a series of ritualistic murders. Both characters' stories starts to merge together when Saga finds pages of horror story that starts to come true around her. Alan Wake 2 game will be set mainly in three Pacific Northwest locations, which are Bright Falls, the nearby fishing, logging city of Watery, and the fenced off Cauldron Lake. According to narrative designer Molly Maloney, the settings for the base world will be grounded and it will be Remedy's take on the Pacific Northwest, so it will be a little quirky, interesting and weird. As for the detective and horror stories, there are few shows that influenced Alan Wake 2. Remedy has referenced Season 1 of True Detective, Silence of the Lambs, Twin Peaks, Fargo, Saban, Taxi Driver, Inception, Hereditary, Midsommar, and Memento. To enjoy the experience of Alan Wake 2, you don't need to play the original game. Despite it being a sequel to the original game, it was made as a standalone experience, so even if you haven't played the original game, you can still enjoy it. Remedy also confirmed that the sequel will be part of the growing Remedy Connected Universe, which is a narrative world where both Alan Wake and Control series coexist. Sam Lake talked about the Connected Universe and said that the connection between both games goes beyond Easter eggs, and Alan Wake 2 is a crossover experience in a Remedy-connected universe. He also said that the Federal Bureau of Control does play a key role. Their presence in the area, and they have key characters related to that and tying into this. The gameplay of Alan Wake 2 will complement the story Remedy is going for. The gameplay will feature two parts, one for Alan, one for Saga. Because Alan spent 13 years trapped in the dark place, Remedy will go all out psychological horror for Alan's story. Alan will face enemies and have to use flashlights to burn the darkness away, making enemies vulnerable to bullets. This time, according to Sam Lake, they have played with the paranoia, so there will be some shadowy enemies. So after using the flashlight technique on some enemies, they will simply disappear and won't attack you, but some will attack you. The dodge mechanic will return from the original game to the sequel as well. Remedy is calling Alan Wake 2 the first survival horror game from the studio, and hopefully the genre shift will help them to explore more of what they are calling a layered psychological story. As for Saga Anderson, alongside combat, we'll also get investigating gameplay like exploring the world, finding clues, talking to people, and placing all that stuff on a caseboard to study. The caseboard exists within Saga's mind place, and players can access it easily. In the caseboard, players will be able to review manuscript pages, character profiles, and all the evidence and pictures that Saga will collect during her investigation. In the caseboard, you will push Saga's investigation further by connecting the clues together. While in the dark place, instead of caseboard, Alan will have a plot board in his writer's room. In the plot board, Alan will write stories to reshape the reality of the dark place to open new pathways so he can finally escape. After the introductory mission, Remedy will let the players switch between characters freely. So it will be up to players to choose between Saga and Alan whenever they want, and the only time you won't be able to switch is when players could miss critical pieces of information because of the switching. Players can either alternate between two characters in each chapter, or they could complete one character's story all the way before playing with the other character. It will be completely up to the players on how they want to finish the game. In terms of movement, the camera is now pulled in a little tighter to the shoulder, and the combat resembles what we have seen in the Resident Evil remakes. The development of Alan Wake 2 wasn't smooth. After Remedy shipped off Alan Wake back in 2010, they immediately started working on the sequel. The development team started working with few ideas, and the story of Alan Wake 2 would continue with Alan as protagonist, with supporting characters such as Alan's friend Barry Wheeler and Sheriff Shara Breaker. Remedy made a prototype and showed off the gameplay to potential publishers. New enemies, new gameplay mechanics of the sequel were showcased in the prototype, and Remedy pitched the idea to publisher Microsoft Studios. However, Microsoft at that time didn't like the idea of a sequel and asked Remedy for something new, which was eventually became Quantum Break, which was released in 2016. Most of the ideas of Alan Wake 2 went to the American Nightmare spin-off. After Quantum Break was announced, Sam Lake said that Alan Wake 2 had been postponed and the original title wasn't financially successful enough for them to receive any funding to work on a sequel at that time. Remedy then went on to work on Control and developing the content for Smilegate's Crossfire X. Director of the communication Thomas Puha said that there were a few things that were limiting them from working on Alan Wake's sequel, which is time, money, and resources. Despite that, Sam Lake with a small core team continued to work on Alan Wake 2, and in between those projects they have worked on many concepts for the game. Internally, the project was codenamed Project Big Fish. On a PlayStation blog post, Sam Lake said that it is easy to feel happy and excited now that Alan Wake 2 is finally happening, based on their latest iteration of the concept and not the ones that came before that. Sam Lake also confirmed that Alan Wake 2 will be powered by Remedy's own Northlight engine, which they used previously to develop Quantum Break and Control. He also confirmed that both Ika Willi and Matthew Porretta would return to provide the appearance and the voice of Alan respectively. And here you go, this is all the stuff that we know about Alan Wake 2, as the game is set to release soon. And this is all the stuff I've got for today's video. Thanks for watching it. Do hit the like button if you have enjoyed it, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more gaming related content. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, goodbye.